Okay, beach night scene macro, which is supposedly equivalent to night scene normal. So, as I said, I was trying to show you. This is what I saw on Friday. Is how hard this is. You know, sort of almost like cowcrete in a way. Underneath that, when you drill down with a hammer and some sort of digging implement, you can actually feel dampness with your hand in the soil. You know, it's like a very mild dampness. You know, like you can feel the moisture with your hand. You know, but it's not wet. You know, it's sort of like damp silt or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's almost like a sponge when it's almost dried out, but you can still feel moisture in it, sort of thing. Not totally bone dry, sort of thing. It's a bit like that. Anyway, came down here. Hopefully the camera's adjusting to the light. I don't know, but so it's just going to take more work, I think, over the holidays. But I think we're going to actually crack it in the tissue. Whether we're going to move out into other stuff, I don't know. It's a bit cart before the horse sort of thing, in a way. You know, I want to start. It's sort of like you think the tissue culture side of things would be the exotic, futuristic, modern day side of the sea breathing. Even though once you got it working, that's where all your plant material would come from, if you can even get it to work, sort of thing. But you know, doing the old thing, the classic approach of growing things in pots and using soil and all that sort of stuff. You know, solving that would, you think, be the first step in the thing, not actually going the next step forward and then backwards. You know, getting a new form of tissue culture that you can actually grow plant material in, that you can actually then put into pots, and then not being able to put them into pots because you haven't actually cracked that part of the step. But you can see it's a bit of a creek line here, and I think I've already mentioned about these creek lines. You know, looking back on these things, you think, when did the fly water get that great to actually gouge something like this out, or is it some sort of rift thing that's been pulled apart? You know, were the rains like 300,000 years ago strong enough to actually gouge all this out, and we're just living in the dry period? You know, we've got to wait for another 300,000 years before it goes back to wet again. Is it that sort of case? And you know, you'll never see it in your lifetime. However, people of the future will be able to go on whatever tube they've got on whatever planet they're living on. If they're living, we haven't wiped ourselves out, or been wiped out by some sort of thing that's crept up on us that we didn't see coming, or we were a bit slow to appreciate until it was too late. They'll be able to look back on this sort of footage from 300,000 years ago, if it's still there and hasn't been wiped out by some nasty little bugger, you know, wiping it out just out of sheer spite alone. And there'll be someone in 300,000, oh, if only you'd done it in brighter light conditions, I would appreciate it so much more. Well, we can always come back next year during the actual, but as you can see, it's a little bit of dampness in the down there. You probably can't pick that up, the camera's probably not picking any of that up. And you know, you can see the width of the banks out here, and in other places it gets much wider, and you think, geez, the amount of water must have been flowing down there to do that. And occasionally you'll find those, you know, odd boulders and things like that, and you think, Jesus, is that being dropped off of some sort of glacier or something? I mean, how many years ago was that? You know? And you just think, yeah, we're just passing through, basically, you know. And you're never never really going to know the answer, really, are you? Because what's the answer? To know is to die, sort of thing. And the only way we can actually have the answer is to give it to someone else in the future, because you can't go backwards, you can only go forwards. And you know, hopefully we're wise enough to realise that. However, there may be an out, is to be able to record your brain sort of patterns and be able to experience how someone else thinks by putting some sort of electrical collection device on the top of someone's head sort of thing, and you know, going through different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum and finding different things, you know, and then putting that sort of device on animals and things and seeing how they think. And we might get a bit of a surprise that some of the lesser, smaller animals have actually are more intelligent than we think they are. For a start, maybe we might find the odd one that's even more intelligent than we are. It's just that they've been stuck down an evolutionary cul-de-sac, you know, physically rather than mentally. And this has all been mown since Friday. So this past week it's been mown, because when I came down on Friday this was unmown. It was more like over there and higher up. So anyway, now I came down here and basically I just walked back up. So but then I turned left and went up the other pathway, so more towards the grid site. So yeah, maybe this is a preamble or just a test run. I might actually now go back to the night scene normal and see how we go with that now with this low light intensity. Or maybe I should go back to night scene macro and see what the difference is there. Okay.